we in the Western world, we have a standard for the gift of teaching. Like we would never just show up to church and say, all right, who would like to give the sermon today?
Mm.
Right? We don't just do that because we agree that the teaching of the word needs to be highly respected, highly regarded, both regarded and guarded.
Mm-hmm.
He says in James, let not many of you become teachers. And so we reserve the Sunday teaching for the mature expression of the gift of teaching. Well, at my church, we try to reserve the expression of any gift from a stage to a mature expression of that gift. So there's not going to be just anybody giving a prophetic word. There's not just going to be anybody giving a tongue and interpretation. These are going to be people that are members in our church. We know them. They know us. There's relational equity that's been built over time together. We've seen how they've responded to correction. They know that when they get up there and they give a prophetic word, I may, as an elder, correct them publicly because they're publicly demonstrating that gift.
Have you done that?
Yes.
That's incredible.
I mean, it's not like when I say correct them, it's not like I'm heavy-handed. I'm just going, like somebody gave a deeply personal word.
Could you actually walk us through a scenario? That may be incredibly helpful. Really practically, what would that look like?
Yeah, Jeremy at our church, or maybe I think it was Jeremy. He gave a prophetic word, and I was like, Jeremy, that's a pretty deeply personal word. I think that should have been done in private.
And you said that from the mic?
Probably a good point. I said that to him in front of everybody.
That's awesome.
And he was like, yeah, you know what? That's right. I should have done that privately. I'm so sorry about that.
Wow.
But Jeremy, as a prophetic voice in our community, he has the maturity to receive that kind of correction. In fact, he loves and longs for that kind of correction because he loves people and he wants to love people well with the power of God.
Lord, bring me lots of Jeremys.
I don't want to pass by. I don't want to harp on this, but why is I've done ministry for a long time, it's almost since 2008. And if you were to tell me that story and then you would ask me what happens next, I would say, oh, Jeremy's leaving your church for sure. He's out of there because he got offended and he got his feelings hurt.
Oh,
what
not at all. Because I'm like, all right, Jeremy. I immediately after I'm like, hey, do you got any other words for anybody?
Okay, great.
That's good.
There's not like a consequence.
That's so healthy.
The consequence was public, but I make mistakes publicly and I've apologized publicly.
Wow.
We just try to clean up our mistakes, and the way, however the mistake was made is how we have to clean it up. If it was a public mistake, it's a public apology and a request for restitution. Like, what can we do to make it right?
Wow.
And so I think anybody who's going to get up on that stage, they know this going into it. If you do something that hurts somebody, you have to publicly do something and make it right. And so I think again, if they're not told that on the front end, if they're not given proper expectation about how correction could be, then they could get really offended. But again, if you give people right expectations, they're seldom disappointed when it happens. And it's not like I disqualified him from prophesying. I was like, that probably should have been given privately. There was another time a friend of mine gave a word where he told somebody that their loved one was not going to come to the Lord. And I remember watching Jack Deere get up and go, actually, that's not true. We don't know who will come to the faith, and you can't know that prophetically. There's always room until people take their last breath to give their lives to Jesus. And so this person who was prophesying publicly was like, oh, you're right. The scriptures disagree with that. So it has to be a public correction because it was a public word that was given. But we also, we encourage people to take risk. I'll tell people constantly in my church, I'm less concerned about you getting it wrong than I am about you giving a vague word. If you give a vague word, it's going to cause everybody to despise prophecy who's already skeptical of it. If you give a word and we judge it right then and there and it's not accurate, well, that's fine. It'll just teach everybody else that they can make mistakes too. And there's a very low consequence for that. But if you get a specific word and it's right, the whole room is built in faith and people feel the love of God, and it's personal.
Those moments are powerful.
So we always judge the prophetic word right then and there.
That's great.
That's publicly. Good. It made you talking in your leadership style reminds me of this leadership coach, Simon Sinek. Have you ever heard of him? And Simon Sinek, one of the things that he's famous for is he wrote a book called Leaders Eat Last. And in one of his books, I don't remember what it was, he talks about good leaders make you feel safe to fail. And and it's okay to fail, That's not the problem. The problem is getting yourself back up and then apologizing when you fail, and then
Yep.
we move on together. And I will teach you, and I will help you to go move forward. And
Yes.
the way that you are shepherding your church, that's what it
It's
reminds me
awesome.
of.
Well, we actually tell people that. We say nobody will grow if they can't make mistakes. You have to have a place that's safe to fail, period. And that's not something I discovered or picked up. That's something Jack Deere did with me and the guys he discipled.
It's also really important too. I remember when I was a youth pastor and I was trying to encourage and teach kids how to like give prophetic words. You also have to teach people and disciple them, especially like in a church community, how to receive prophetic words, because sort of the standard practice in most charismatic environments I've been in is when you get a prophetic word, you bend over backwards to try to figure out a way to make it fit. And I told him, I was like, if it doesn't work, number one, don't receive it. And then number two, you should tell the person. Like, I remember I was in Mexico on a missions trip, and this guy comes up to me who was one of the base leaders, and he starts giving me this word. And the first part was just incredible. Like, me and my wife were sort of like processing some things about our future and all this sort of stuff, and it was dead on. Like, it was incredible. And then so I guess he felt energized because I was like, yeah, dude, this is incredible. This is so accurate. And so he kept going for more. And it's usually when you go for more is when you get it wrong. And then he starts telling me about my brother. He says, I see your brother, and he's addicted to hardcore drugs. And like, my brother is like the most non-hardcore drug addict ever. Like, he's never even tried drug. Like, it's not even close. If you know my brother, it was hilarious. And so I kind of kindly let him finish. And then he didn't really even ask. I said, hey, the first part was amazing. The last part was not right. But I would love to join you in prayer for my brother right now, just to bless him. And we have to like allow people to know when they miss it. And so we've told people in our church, or in different churches I've pastored in, if you're down on the altar and somebody says something that's wrong, like, be respectful and kind, but like, just let them know, like, hey, yeah, I don't think that one was
Yeah.
right. And I will always do my best to ask somebody, and I'll give them a word, and I'll say, no, don't lie to me. Like, was that accurate? Does that feel right? And I've had
You're
plenty.
trying to judge it right then and there. That's good.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can because I don't want to just be like. And I love what you guys talk about when you do your prophecy reviews videos about nothing sandwiches.
I hate those reviews.
You love those
I hate-
reviews.
No,
You love
I
them.
hate doing those. I do. That stuff just drives me crazy.
I know, and but it's really healthy though, because like no one else is really talking about it. To be honest with you, even on the local level, like it needs to be taught.